Hey guys, my name is Aditya, your buddy bhaiya at Coding Adda and your favorite entertainer educator. So, in this video, what we are going to talk about is something called MCP, which is Model Context Protocol. And this particular topic and this particular, thing has been going a lot in trend right now and is one of the most hot topics right now. And in this video, we are going to see what is an MCP, how can you create your own MCP server, what are the components in an MCP, and we'll be also creating a small MCP server to get the weather data using an API. So without wasting any time, let's get into the video. So let's talk about something called LLMs. Many of you, if you don't know what are LLMs, LLM stands for large language models. These are basically some smart devices, not devices, these are some smart machines or these are some smart models which can help you predict the next move that you are doing. As in, they can help you complete your email, they can help you complete your sentence. Meaning that these models are trained so perfectly and on the so large corpus of data that they can predict and they can give you the accurate results. Okay, so as far as we are concerned for 2025 till now or the day before yesterday, what could LLMs do is they could and post create a post which you can post it on LinkedIn, you can post it on Instagram, you can post it on Twitter. You could create an email, yeah, writing an email to your boss, writing an email to your friend, writing a formal email, writing an email of resignation. They could do that. Next is recently, ChatGPT also gave the increase number of image size for the Ghibli images, which is very much in trend right now. So yeah, LLMs can also create image. They can generate image based on the prompt that you are giving. And the last thing, not the last thing, these are the top three things that I think are the most important for any LLMs. And the third thing is like writing a query, writing any kind of a query like SQL query, MongoDB query, Supabase query. But there are some limitations. There are some limitations that LLMs cannot do till date. Till date, they were not able to do, but after this, they are able to do. What they cannot do is post it on social media. Okay, the post that they are creating, they cannot post it on social media. They cannot send the email to the person that you want to write an email to. They cannot post the image that it is creating on the social media. They cannot execute the query. Okay, so recently Anthropic launched something called, or it made this particular thing public, called Model Context Protocol. Okay, so this was open sourced on 25th November 2024. So they said that today we are open sourcing Model Context Protocol, a new standard for connecting AI assistants to the system where the data lives, including the content repositories, business tools, and development environments. It aims to help frontier modules produce better and more relevant responses. Okay, so basically, what is a Model Context Protocol? Let's see. Okay, so let's say you are having an AI agent or an LLM. Okay, I'll just get into from the scratch. Okay, what LLM does is, if let's say if you are giving an query to an LLM, like, hey, give me the weather of Bangalore. So what does usually LLM say? No, I cannot give you the live data of Bangalore because I don't have the access to the tools that are required for getting the right or the current date, or sorry, the current weather for Bangalore. So with the help of MCP, Model Context Protocol, what it does is it can do, or it can give you the data based on the needs that you have. Okay, before getting over here, let's get into what exactly the Model Context Protocol is. Where did it go? Yeah, now the Model Context Protocol, it is basically divided into the three parts. First is the model, second goes for the context, and third is the protocol. Now, coming forward with models. Now, models meaning what? the models that we are using, the LLM models that we use, these models can take up multiple type of data. It can take a text, it can take an image, it can take a video, it can take any kind of file. It can be a text file, JSON file, CSV file, any kind of file. And what are the models that can process it? They are GPT, Claude, Gemini. If you are using any other models like DeepSeek, they are also included in that. Okay. So the first is the models that are used to communicate via you as a client. Okay. Next comes the context. Context is one of the most important parts for MCP, because we can say it's the heartbeat to any LLM. Okay. Let's learn, or let's dive deep into this particular context in a very simple manner with the help of an example. Let's say you ask your friend about a movie. If they don't remember which movie you are talking about, they cannot give you a good review, right? Let's say I'm talking to Hari, bro, tell me about that action movie. Now, if we tell about that action movie could be anything. Okay, it could be a Bollywood movie, it could be a Hollywood movie, it could be a South Tollywood movie. But how can Hari tell me if that movie is good or not without me giving him the context? Like, I want to talk about that Hollywood movie, I want to talk about that Bollywood movie. Yeah. So if they don't remember which movie you're talking about, they cannot give you a good info, right? The same goes for AI. Okay, because here we are humans, we can also understand, or we can like give a hint on like, yeah, this is the movie, this is the character that it is in. But AI does not have that kind of intelligence from scratch. You have to give it a context, you have to give it something based on which AI would take a decision. So the same thing goes for AI. Without context from the previous conversation or data, it might not know how to help. Okay. If you go to ChatGPT, if you are having any earlier prompts that you have been talking with ChatGPT, it obviously saves that prompt, right? And let's say if you are stuck in one of the problem, let's say you are stuck in getting the data from an API. Now, if you have already used that particular API earlier in your conversation, what will ChatGPT do is it will tell, okay, this is how you had fetched the API, this is how you have console, or you have get the API, so you can use this. So what it does is it has the context already of the previous conversation that you have been doing with that LLM. Okay. Now, talking about the context in MCP, there are different types that you can use. Firstly is the tool. You can use different tools, or you can build different tools that can perform, or that can be used by the LLM for different kind of tasks. Okay. We'll get into this in detail later. The second is the prompt. Rather than writing prompts for every single API, what you can do is, for every request that you are making on the LLM, you can say like get data. Okay. And internally you are writing a well-defined fine-tune prompt that I want to get data from this. Okay. So where you can, here what you can do is, rather than writing the entire prompt to the LLM all the time, what you can do is you can just write it in a short form. Okay. Get data. What it will do is, internally it will call the entire prompt. Okay. And the third thing is, this is something very different. This is called sampling. I will just write it down here. This is called sampling. Now, what does sampling means? Here, what you particularly do is you get the response of one LLM and pass it to the other LLM. Okay, this is what you say by telling sampling. Sampling means querying to another model. So this is the context. And the last thing is protocol. Protocol basically simply means a set of rules. If you're a college student, or if you're in college, you must have heard about TCP/IP protocols. Okay, this is such a protocol. This is how the MCP is made, model context protocol, where we use the model along with the context and along with the protocol. Okay, now let's get into a basic architecture of how MCP looks like. I have just taken up the architecture from the introduction over here. Okay, this is the website MC model context protocol.io, and it also says here that MCP is an open source protocol that standardizes how applications provide context to LLMs. Okay. For now, what happened that users were providing context to LLMs. Okay. When we were using ChatGPT, when we were using Anthropic, think of MCP like a USB port for AI applications. This is one of the best way you can understand this. Just like a USB provides a standardized way to connect your devices to various peripheral accessories, MCP provides a standardized way to connect AI models to different data sources and different tools. Now, why MCP? MCP helps you build agents and complex workflows on the top of LLMs. LLMs frequently need to integrate with data and tools, and MCP provides first a growing list of pre-built integrations that your LLM can directly plug into. Second, the flexibility to switch between LLM providers and vendors. And the third, best practices for securing your data within your infrastructure. Okay, I think this might be a lot of English, but no worries, I'll explain you what exactly it is. This is how the basic architecture of MCP looks like. First, what we have is the MCP client. Okay, understand this as the client server architecture that we use while we are using for web, because whenever, let's say if you're talking about web in using web, we are having different kind of protocols: REST protocol, graph protocol. Okay, and the basic protocol is client server architecture. So here what we have is the host, which is the MCP client. Now this client could be the IDs, this could be the tools, and this could be any other AI based IDs that you are using. Okay, now we have the MCP client, and then we have the MCP server, and the third thing are the tools, okay, or the data source. Now let's say we are having an MCP client and it requests for a certain task to be performed to the MCP server. What MCP server does is it looks internally that do I have a tool for this particular task. Okay, if I have that tool for that task, it will make an API call to that tool, get the response and give it to the user. If it does not have, it will say, sorry, I don't have this particular tool, and it will in turn give the response to the user that, sorry, this particular thing cannot be performed. Okay, I have basically simplified this particular architecture in a more simple manner. I'll show you right here. Okay, just pay attention over here. Let's say I have an LLM. I am using Anthropic. Okay, as a user, I am asking it, give me the weather of Bangalore. Now what it will do is it will take the input query and it will make an API call, or it will ask the MCP server that, do you have a tool? Okay, what MCP server will do is it will check, okay, do I have a tool for getting the weather data? No, I don't have the tool. So if it gives a no as a response, what will the LLM give us? I couldn't find the weather of Bangalore. Okay, now consider a different case wherein the MCP server has a tool to get the data. Like it has a way that it can get you the API and give the current data based on the query. So same process repeating again. Do you have a tool, MCP server? Yes, I do have a tool. What it will do is make an API call. Okay, and these tool can be any tools. Okay, this tool can be getting an API. This tool can be writing a file. This tool can be reading contents of a file. This tool can be querying something to a database, which was actually earlier not possible by any LLM. Now it is possible. Okay, so what it will do is make an API call. Here, let's say we are taking the example of getting the weather data. It will go and call for open weather, open meteo, free weather API. And when it gets the response, then it gives it to the LLM, and the LLM gives it the response as, the weather of Bangalore is 27 degrees. Okay, so this is basically how a MCP server works like. Okay, I have also gone into the documentation. We'll also see what the documentation exactly is and what it contains. Okay, this is for the particular documentation where we are talking about, and there are different types of SDKs available. I am particularly excited about the TypeScript SDK, and here it gives you the installation process. Okay, what to install, how to install, and stuff. So what we will be doing now is we'll be creating a MCP server to get the weather data using the Open Weather API. Okay, I have already created. I'll just walk you through the entire process. Okay, what I initially did was obviously install the Model Context Protocol SDK, because without that we won't be able to get anything. So I installed that and import the MCP server and resource template from the mcp.js and the std server transport. Now basically how the API calling works is it works via the STDIO. STDIO means standard input output. Okay. Now the second process is after installing the SDK, what we install is Zod. Zod is basically a validation package. I'll just write down what is Zod. We'll just get over here. Just a 2 minute or just a minute for this. So what Zod does is Zod is a TypeScript for schema declaration and validation library. Okay. It basically helps to validate everything. Okay. So we'll go here, and to create a simple MCP server, what we do is basically we create it like this. Const server equal to new MCP server. We obviously initialize a new object. Okay. And then we write the name as weather data and the version that we want. Now, the next step is what we want to call. Okay. And when we talked about the context, we had talked about different types. Okay. Here, what we'll be doing is we'll be using different tools. But there are a lot of capabilities that MCP provides. Okay. We'll just go here, and what it provides is it provides tools. Okay. You can also use tools. It can also use prompts, the user defined prompts. See, if we write analyze the given code, what it will do is it will basically call this particular prompt. Okay. This is what I was telling about the prompts. Rather than calling the or writing the prompt entirely for like 10 to 15 times, you can always write a small word and it will basically write up the entire prompt and make an API call. Okay. So you can use prompts, you can use tools, that what we will be using today. You can also use sampling. So now what we are going to do is we are going to see how to create a tool. So we write server.tool, and inside that we write the tool name. Get weather data is a tool name. The first thing that we are going to pass over here is the city. Okay, because we are trying to get the name of the city from what the user is giving as an input, and then pass it as an input to the API. Okay. Inside that we will be writing a function. This is what will do the entire work. Okay. Inside that we have an async function where we pass the parameter as city, and we'll be responding as a content where the type is text, and we'll do the stringification of the response that we get. Okay. Here what we are doing is we have created an async function which will basically give us the data or give us the response for the weather for a particular city. Okay. It's just that I have used the OpenWeather API, OpenWeather map API for this. So just normal JavaScript, axios.get, pass the city over here. This is the API key, and return response.data. Just a normal function to get the response for a particular API. Okay. And when we get that particular response, we will just await it and stringify the response into a JSON format. And this is how we basically initialize the MCP server. We use the stdio server transport. We just write it inside an init function and await server.connect transport and just call the init function. Okay. Now, how do we call this MCP server, or how do we integrate this particular MCP server in our projects? So just for this, I have installed Cursor. I am not a Cursor guy, but just for this, I have installed Cursor. So when you go to Cursor, you have an option to add a new global MCP server. So click on that. It will open an mcp.json. What you have to do is firstly write the name of the server that you have created. Here, if we see, the server name that I've created is weather data. So I just write it as weather data. The command or what you are using, obviously we are using TypeScript. So we'll be using node as the command. And what would be the arguments? The arguments that would be passing here would be the file in which you have created your server. So if you see here, not this one. If I go here and if I write pwd, I'll get the path. Users Aditya Trivedi desktop developer MCP server. So, and inside that we have a file called index.js. So what we have done here is users Aditya Trivedi desktop developer MCP server and index.js. Okay. If you're having any environment variables, you can obviously write the key value pair over here. Otherwise, it's not needed. And once it is done, it will automatically be displayed over here. Okay. Now let's get into the testing part, how we can test the entire thing. What is the weather of Mumbai. Okay, let's see what it does. I can help you check the weather in Mumbai using the available weather data function. See, now what cursor is doing is internally it is searching for an MCP tool. Okay, so this is the process that it is in right now. We have asked cursor and it internally makes an LLM do that. It is asking for a tool, okay, MCP server. Okay, it is in this process right now. And after this, let's say it asks us like, okay, do you want to grant this particular MCP tool to work? I'll say, yeah, run tool. So what it will do is it has generated the result here and it is giving us the result over here. Based on the current weather data for Mumbai, temperature is this much, weather is this much, humidity is this much. The weather in Mumbai is currently clear with comfortable temperature, though it might feel a bit warmer due to humidity. Okay, let's try for, let's say we'll try for London. Let's try for London. So it will check the weather data for London and obviously calling an MCP tool get weather data run tool. I obviously want it to run. So it will tell the current weather data in London is this much and the weather in London is currently cloudy with moderate temperatures and stuff. So this is how you can actually create your MCP server, and this is the particular process an MCP server performs. An increase in demand of MCP servers right now, it comes with a huge business opportunity wherein you as a developer, if you are interested into AI or if you are someone who is keen into AI, this comes with a very good business opportunity to create MCP servers for the clients or create MCP clients. And I think this would be the next breakthrough, or this is actually the next breakthrough in the world of AI, where you can actually make your LLMs do the task that you already wanted to do. Okay, because this is what initially was done by OpenAI, where they had used Operator, if you know about Operator, which can actually do the things on the web for you and give the result. Okay, so this is how MCP servers work, and I think this would be a detailed explanation for you guys on understanding how MCP servers are, how to create your own MCP server. Put up the code of the GitHub repository for the MCP server that we created today in the description box below. And if you like the video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And see you in the next one. Until then, bye bye.